Okay, guys. So again, welcome to engineering econ session, FE review session. I am happy to see you all. Today we will have a very important session, and we will cover a lot of good information. So let's dive in for today's agenda. Today we will talk about discounted cash flow. We will talk about present value, present worth is the same thing, future value, annual worth. All of these good terminology. I'm going to explain them in a minute. Then we will move to talk about cost, incremental, average cost, sunk cost, estimating. We will cover all of that. Then we will talk about some analyses, and I am going to cover two of them. Break-even point, what is a break-even analysis, and then benefits cost analysis. I will end up today's session by talking about uncertainty. And when we talk about uncertainty, we will discuss risks, and we will talk about expected values. So let's dive in. I already gave you a copy of the FE reference handbook for today for the engineering econ, and you have a hard copy of today's lecture. Let's talk about some terminology. P, when we talk about P, we are referring to present value. Some people call it the present worth. It's the same thing. It's the time today times zero, the value of money at time zero. So that's the present value. The present value is what is the value of this money today at time zero. Future value, it is on the other side of the curve, if you want. We are talking about the value of money in the future. Why we care? You need to know a very important concept. The value of money today is larger than the value of the money in the future. If I tell you I am going to give you $100 today, or I can give you $100 a year from now, what is your choice? It's better to take it today because you can invest it. You can put it in a bank, you can put it in a bond, you can do whatever. You can make some interest and some gain on this 100. So if I want to be fair with you, I will tell you I will give you 100 today or at least 120 in the future. And we will see if that's equivalent or not, but that's just an example. So the value of money today is much larger than the value of money in the future. Why? Many reasons. The purchasing power of money go down because of inflations, because of economy, because of a lot of things. So always, if you are going to pay something today, it's worth more than a future value of the same amount. Annual amount. We talked about annual amount when we talk about a deposit that you have to do every year. It could be a constant value. It could be, for example, the same amount that you are depositing into your account. Maybe it's a return. Maybe you are investing in bonds and you have some specific return. Every year you get about $1,000. That's annual. That's annual. When we talk about G, it's a steady increasing in deposit amount. So for example, maybe I am saving to buy a car. Next month I will put 300 in my saving account. The month after that, maybe I will put 350. Then after that, I will put 400. So every month I am adding $50. That's G. When we talk about G, that's the steady increase in deposit. It's the difference in the money I am adding every month. That's G. For I or R, it is the interest rate. Interest rate in general, when we do the majority of the calculation, we assume it's compounding annually. So I, it is interest rate per period or per year. And R is the interest per annum. When we talk about N or M, we are talking about period of time, mostly years. But there is some exercises that we are going to talk about, some cases when the compounding is quarterly or monthly even. And the more they compound the money for you, the more they compound the interest, the better the deal, right? I can compound it yearly, or I can compound it quarterly, or even monthly, hourly. The more I can compound it for you, I am giving you more interest, more interest. So keep that in mind, keep that in mind. So here we will talk about some terminology. Again, we are starting by explaining some of these meaning or symbols, if you want to call them, or figures. And I always advise my student actually to draw the problem. Draw a line that represents the cash flow. And when we have a cash flow, we have in cash flow and we have out cash flow. Some money you will gain, some money you will spend, right? So here at the top, we have single payment, for example. When I am talking about single payment, that's the example I started with. It's very simple. And I can give you $100 today. How much this $100 worth a year from now? That's the question we are trying to explain. I have one single payment. It could be in the future or it could be today, and I want to compare them. So I can pay today $100 and ask you, okay, tell me what is the value or equivalent of this $100 a year from now. Or it could be the opposite. You are going to receive some inheritance after a year from now, and we want to know what is the value of this future payment today. So that's the easy one. What is the meaning of this? Simply what they are telling me here, find f if p is given. Find f if p is given. The bottom one, find p if f is given, right? And there is I, that's a certain percentage, and that's n, the time, how long this compound or this deal is going to be, how many years. And here you can see we have f in the future and p, and I can go between the two. I can convert p to f or f to p. That's number one. Number two, we have uniform series. Some people call them equal amount series or uniform. It is the same thing. And in this case, we have monthly or yearly payment or maybe earning. Maybe it could be income or maybe something you pay. In this case here, when it's go down, that means it is payment. You pay this amount monthly or yearly. Think about your car, for example. You have a car finance and you pay every month a certain amount, right, for your car. That's A, and it is equivalent, it is uniform because the same amount. You are paying, for example, 250 every month till the end of the 5 years. I want to know what is the value, the equivalent value of these payments, these equal payments in the future. In the future, that's F. Or I want to know what is the value of this A today. So I want to know two things. I can do two things. I can tell you what is the equivalent of these equal uniform payments in the future, or I can discount it till today. So you need to keep in mind two things. Every time you solve one of these problems, it's very, very important to discount to a certain point and bring everything to one equal point. So if I want to compare two things, they have to be all of them, two of them in the present or two of them in the future. So I can compare apple to apple. I cannot compare a future payment with a present payment. The time means money. So I cannot compare different time. They have to be discounted. And that's why we do all of this. We are discounting the money to a certain point. I am discounting this money for today so I can compare them side to side. Or I could discount them for the future, for F. It's up to me based on the problem and based on my need. So here you can see we have another symbol if you want. Find F if A is given. So I know A, I know how much I am paying for my car every month. I want to know what is the total F at the end. Here A, find A, F is given. So on the other hand, if I want to find A, but I know F, so how much, for example, I need to deposit in my saving account to receive $5,000 after 5 years? That's the question. Tell me how much I need to save every year so I can have 5,000 or 10,000 5 years from now. That's the question we try to answer here. When I need to find A, but F is known for me. Now we have the present value compared with the annual. So it's the same concept. Find P if A is given, or find A if P is given. So same thing. I want to pay today a certain amount of money, put it in maybe a saving account, a bond, buying some stocks, put it in some type of investment, right? How much money I am going to get on that investment? That's the question. I know P, but I don't know A. Or the opposite, or the opposite. How much today I need to invest so I can get 200 every month? So I am playing between P and A, between P and A. Any questions so far? Are we good? Okay, here we have the gradient. That's the gradient that I talked about when we say that it is a fixed amount, that it goes up or down every month or every year within a period, okay? As you can see here, simply we can actually divide it into two pieces. I can divide it into uniform. When I put this red line here, I make this, and this equal, right? So when we solve any gradient problem, really what we are doing, we are breaking down the problem into two simple problems. One of them is uniform, the one that we already know from A. The second one is calculating the gradient or the increase or the decrease. So every time you will solve a problem, you will see the equation in a minute. But I'm trying to explain for you the concept. In a minute, I will show you the equation, and you will find out that the equation, the first part of it is annual, uniform series. The second part is the G or the gradient. And again, here I can find P if I know G, or I can find F, I can find A, whatever I am looking for, whatever I am looking for. Any questions so far? How we are doing, guys? Are we doing okay? So far, so good? So here it is. Here it is. This is the symbol. Here, convert to F given P. So try to find F if P is given. Find F, P is given. That's the formula for it. Now, find P if F is given. That's the formula for it. They are the same formula. You can see they play with the formula. So the top two formulas are the same. F equal P times 1 plus I raised to N. If I want to find from the top formula, I want to find P, I will get the second formula. They are the same formula, really. So these two are the same formula, really. Now, convert to A, find A given F. This is the formula for it. Okay? Convert to A given P. That's the formula for it. There is two ways we can solve any of the problem that I am going to present today. One way is to use the tables. There is already tables ready for you, and they are available in the handbook, actually in the FE reference handbook. And you can use the equation. So it's up to you to use the equation or the handbook. The handbook is faster, the tables are faster, but sometimes you cannot use them. We will see when you can use them, when you cannot use them in a minute. So these are the equations, as you can see here. So convert to F given A, convert to B given A, and these the equation, and that's the symbol, so we can go and read it from the tables. The table that I already gave you a copy. I gave you a copy of the reference handbook. Here now for gradient. Now for gradient. You see for gradient that we have these three equations, right? So we have convert to P given G, convert to F, convert to A. And these are the three equations. These are the three equations. Any questions so far? All of this is summary. I am just putting some background so you understand what I am going to do throughout the session. You need to keep in mind at the bottom here we have a very important note. It's possible to use interest rate table for calculation if you are not calculating I. If you are not calculating I. These are the tables. These are the tables. They are in the handout I gave you. They are on page 233. On page 233, these are all the tables that are provided to you. There are more tables, but they are not provided to you. So if you are in real life doing exercise related to engineering econ, I need you to know that there is differently more table than what provided in the handbook. In the handbook, they provided, I believe, 8 or 10 tables, that's it. But in real life, there is more to that. There is more to that. How to read the table? How to read the table? So first of all, you need to break down the problem so you understand you are looking to what? I am looking, for example, to F given P. I am looking to A given P. I am looking to A given F. So the first step is to identify which one of these columns is the one I am looking for. Then I am going to see how many years, the investment life cycle, how many years. I am looking for 10 years, so I will go through this. That's the 10 years. So if I need any one of these values, I need to cross it with number 10, and these are the values that I am going to use. That's how you read the table. Simply you identify the column, then you go to the left on the row, and you find the correct number of years. Any question? How you select the table? You select it mainly based on the I value. So initially, as I said, you have about 10 tables, for example. First of all, you need to find this, what I factor we are talking about. So if I am talking about 2%, 3%, 6%, 8%, 10, whatever, you need to select the first one based on that percentage. Are we good? Let's solve one of these exercises. So problem number one, example number one, John invests 10K in the first year and his money will grow to be 12,500 at the end of year 3. Find the interest rate if it is compounded annually. Here they are asking you a question you cannot really use the table for. They ask you to find I. I need you to keep in mind that these tables are created based on I. So these tables are created based on I. So you cannot really use them to find I. So every time you have a question like this one, you have a question about finding I, you need to use the equation. There's no way you can use the table because the table is created assuming that you know I. What is I? So here simply, let's break down the problem. We know the present value. We know the present value. The present value is 10,000. John invests 10,000. So he put a 10,000 down, right? 10K. In the first year, and his money will grow to be 12,500 at the end of year 3. So here, F 12,500, and we know it's 3 years, okay? We know that this is 3 years. Find the interest rate. So F is given, P is given, N is given. Simply, I am going to use this equation. One of you could ask, can I use the other equation for P? Yes, definitely. You can use F equal to P times 1 plus I raised to N, or you can use P equal to F 1 plus I raised to minus N. The same thing, because we are looking for I. We are looking for I. So simply, we will plug the number. Obviously, you can see here a note. You cannot use the table for this case. And we are going to plug F and P, and that will give me an equation to play with. I would like to break down this equation because usually when I teach engineering econ, many of the students has hard time understand how to go from this to this. So let's break it down. So when I reach this area here, obviously here we divided, at this stage, we divided by 10,000, right? We divided by 10,000. So here I divided by 10,000. I end up with 1.25 equal to this guy. So far, so good, right? Now, how I am going to deal with this guy? I am going to use the natural logarithm. So the natural logarithm. So I am going to say easily, natural log, I will take the natural log of this, okay? So natural log of this simply equal to 3. I will take the 3, put it before the log, and I am going to put 1 plus I equal to natural log to the other side, right? So natural log of the two sides. I am going to take the natural log of the two sides. So I will take the 3, put it before the log, and I will take the ln or the natural log, 1 plus I equal to this. I will find this value. If you do the math, you will find out that this equal to 0.22314. If you have your calculator, work with me. Okay? So that will tell me that natural log of 1 plus I is equal to a number. Is equal to what? Equal to a number. 0.07438. Simply, what we did really, we took this number here and we divided by 3. So I took this divided by 3, I came up with this number. Now, how to solve this? And you know that the calculator that is provided for you is the simplest calculator ever. So simply, we will take the following. We will say that, I'm going to write it at the top here. So we will say that simply, if I want to solve this part here, that's equal to the following. 1 plus I equal to E raised to 0.07438. On your calculator, you can find this value, and that will tell you now that I is equal to 7.7%. Any question on this? Are we good? Yes? Kind of? Or 100%? 100%, all is good? Ask me question if you have
I
question.
don't have a question, it's just gonna take time to sync, I guess.
Okay. So that's how you find I, if we need to find I. Now we have another problem, example number 2. Example number 2 also, it's easy problem. An engineering firm deposits 20K per year as an investment to replace their computer 6 years from now. If the interest is compounded at 8% annually, find the balance of the total deposit at the end of 6 years. So simply what we are saying here, an engineer firm deposited 20,000 per year, right? So I have equal payment going down to replace their computer 6 years from now. If the interest is compounded at 8% annually, find the balance of total deposit. So I need to find F. That's what they are telling me. They are telling me I am going to invest by putting 20K every year for 6 years. For 6 years. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is extra actually, the last one. Oops. I will draw it again. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's the F1. That's the F going up. So if you understand what's going on, you will write this symbol directly. I am looking for F given A. I am looking for F given A. If you know this, you will go to the table, and please do go to the table, try to find what is the value for me. What is the value for me? Go to your table. Here we are looking for 8% table. So table was 8. And we are looking for 6 years. 6 years. F finds A. F finds A. 6 years. How much is the number? Thank you so much. Thank you. So we got that number here, and we will multiply it by A, which is 20K. Multiply it by A, which is 20K. That's one way of doing it. The second way is to use the equation. Using the equation take more time. So in the exam, it's better to use the table if you can. If you can. I want you to understand the equation. I teach advanced engineering econ for master level. I use the equation all the time in that class. Simply so that student understand the meaning of this, because I find out a lot of people doesn't really understand how the equations work. They depend too much on tables. But for the FE, definitely use the table. For the FE, definitely use the table. Don't depend on the equation. Don't depend on the equation. Any questions so far? Are we good? Example number 3. So Sam plans to have a total fund of 500K for property investment. How much should he deposit annually for 5 years if the interest is 10% and compound annually? In all of this problem, as you can see, we are compounding annually. So it's the same thing. What we are trying to do here is find A, F is given. Find A, F is given. Plan to have a total fund so he know how much he will get in the future. He will get 500K, right? For property investment, how much should be or should he deposit annually for 5 years? So we are looking to find A. How much I am looking for 5 years, for 5 years. One of the things I need you to understand, and maybe in the next example, I am going to solve it both ways. I am going to solve it using the table and using the equations. How you calculate the number of years also become to be problematic for some of the students, especially if you are dealing with the formula. Like here, it's obvious that's 5 years, 5 years. You see, when we deal with annual payment equal series in general, sometimes you need to be careful when you count the years. And in a minute, I will show you in the next example how to find it. This example is very simple, very easy. You need to find A, F is given. If you go to the table, can you go to the table, please, and check I, the equation or the result for I equal to 10%. Can you find me the 10% value for 5 years? How much for 5 years? Excellent. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. So this is the value, and it's coming straight from the table. We multiply it by A, and that give me the answer I am looking for. That's the amount of money. This is the amount of money, 81,898 and 74 cents. This is how much I need to invest. So after 5 years, I will get 500K. Any question? Are we good, guys? So far, so good? Yes? Now, problem number 4. Let's think about this problem a little bit. The maintenance cost of a machine is predicted to be 200 at the end of year 1 and increasing 40 each year for the next 5 years. So simply, at the first year, this is year 0, this is year 1, I am going to pay 200, right? Then every year I will add 40, so I have 240 here. Then I will have 280. And then I will have 320. And I will add another 40, 360. And finally, I will have 400. So now you will see that the maintenance cost of a machine is predicted to be 200 at the beginning. We started with 200. That's what I started with. Sorry, I have to write over the text. Can you read it, really? Yes? I can put it somewhere else. I don't have a lot of space, but it's good. We started with 200, then we added 40 every year. And you can see here that the total amount actually is of years is 6 years. 6 years. Although they are saying that in the next 5 years, you will add 40, but you already spent the 200 at the beginning. So it's 6 years, really. It's 6 years, not 5 years. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have 6 years, really. And now, what I am trying to solve here, this is a gradient. And as I said at the beginning, every time I am going to solve a gradient, I am going to break it down into 2 problems. I am going to solve it for annual equal payments. That's the first part. That's what they are trying to do here. Then I will account for the gradient separately. So really, every time you have a gradient, you have to use 2 equations, not 1. That's another problematic area for students. Some of them don't really get that. Oh, at the beginning of this session today, we said that the gradient equation is this one, right? That's the gradient equation. This is only for the part that is going to increase. What about the uniform part? The uniform part, you have to use the equation for A. You have to use the equation for A, which is one of these here at the bottom. So going back to my solution here, for this part here, from this to here, I am going to find A. Then for this part here, I am going to find G. That's exactly what they are going to do. So here they are starting with find P if A is given. Then for the gradient, find P if gradient is given. And the gradient here is 40 bucks. So I will take 200, that's A, and I will go to the table. I want you to go to the table, 8% table, 6 years. 8% table, 6 years. Tell me how much you are getting from that table. Anyone? How much you are getting from the table? 8%, 6 years. Work with me, guys. 8%, 6 years. How much?
4.659.
And that's for how many years? 6 years, right? For 6 years. And can you try to find the second value for me from the table? That's also the 8%, 6 years, but here we are looking for P if G is given. So it's P/G. How much? 10.5233. Thank you. Here it is. And if you do the math, you will end up with this number. Now let's try to play with this equation a little bit, because again, I want you to be familiar with both. If I want to do P1 is equal to what? I'm trying to solve this guy here, P1. is equal to what? Equal to 200 multiplied by 1.08. That's the 1 plus I, and I am going to raise it to 6. I am going to raise it to 6 minus 1 divided by 8%, 0.08 times 1.08. That's 1 plus I here, and I am going to raise it to 6. So usually, the 6 is problematic here and here. Some of the students don't really visualize that it's 6 years, not 5. So one common mistake here is to do it for 5. And if you do it for 5, probably if they have multiple choices, you will have one of the answers. Because they know that one of the error is to do this calculation for 5 years, not 6 years. Any question on this? Are we good, guys? Yes? Now let's talk a little bit about risk and depreciation. So for risk, what is the risk? The chance of an outcome other than what is planned for. Risk in general is equal to opportunity. So when we say the risk, we don't mean always a bad thing. Risk could be good or bad. Risk simply is something you didn't expect. The chance of an outcome, the chance, that means the probability. When we talk risk, we are talking probability. The probability of an outcome that you didn't plan for, you didn't expect, could be good news for you. It could be bad news. So when we talk about risk, I am not always referring to bad risk. We call them negative risk. When we talk about bad things, we call them negative risk. But risk in general could be negative, could be positive. It's an opportunity. It's something you didn't expect. Maybe it will be beneficial for you. Maybe it will be bad for you. That's risk in general. Now I want to talk about this equation here in the corner. Everything we have been dealing with so far, assuming that the compound will be annual. We will compound the interest rate annually, right? Now, if I want to compound it more frequently, for example, quarterly, monthly, I am dealing right now with this equation. I need to find the effective interest rate. I sub E, that's the effective interest rate. So simply R, this is the rate. This is the rate of compounding. Rate of compounding. 8%, 9%, whatever. M, this is the new guy, and this is the number of compounding. The number of compounding. So for example, if I say that this interest rate is going to be compounded quarterly, what does that mean? I have 4 times the number of compounding. How much or how many times you are going to receive income? 4 times per year, 4 times per year. If I say it is monthly, that's 12. So this is how you calculate the effective interest rate, or that's how you transfer or convert interest rate from compounding quarterly to yearly, from compounding monthly to yearly, from compounding daily to yearly, from weekly to yearly. This equation is to convert non-annual compounding to annual compounding. That's what you are doing here. Is that clear? Excellent. Let's talk about inflation. What is inflation in general? And let me tell you this, it is not in the slide, but it's a good discussion to talk about it a little bit. What is the difference between inflation and escalation? They are not the same. There is escalation and there is inflation. Some people think they are the same. Escalation in general, it's increase in the price of a product that you expect and you have control. Maybe it's internal reason for that increase of the price of the product. The inflation, first of all, it's out of your control, it's outside, and it's related mainly for the purchasing power of the money. So it affects the economy in general. Inflation is any increase in the value or the price of product over the expected escalation. That's if you want to distinguish the two. When we talk about inflation, we are talking about losing purchasing power because of many reasons, because of time, because of economical reason, maybe because of war, because of a lot of things. The value of money goes down. It's not really buying the same thing. The same dollar that you used to buy, for example, whatever, a Coke, right now you need $2 to buy the same Coke. So that's inflation. That's inflation. Here, to account for inflation, you need to keep in mind this equation. All the equations I am showing you in this slide, they come from the handbook, all of them. If the equation is not in the handbook, I don't solve a problem on it. It has to be in the handbook to solve a problem, because that's how the FE works. The FE, they want you to go into the handbook, and actually I have a hard copy today. I showed you last time a digital copy, I have a hard copy today. That's the handbook. Make sure you are familiar with this guy. Half of the effort to pass is to be familiar with the handbook. It's very, very important to be familiar with this handbook. It's half of the effort, 50% of the effort, to know where to find the equations. It's big, as you can see. You will not be able to memorize equations. So if you cannot really find the equation that you need, it will be a problem. And you will waste your time in the FE. The exam is about being clever, about doing it fast. That's the skill that you need to really work on. How I can solve the problem in the fastest, the easiest way, and find the equation and do it within a certain amount of time. If I need to spend 10 minutes to find an equation in this book, I will never pass, even if I know the information. So for the inflation, let's assume that I, the interest rate is 10%. Let's assume I equal 10%. And assume F is equal to 4%. So the inflation effect is equal to 10% plus 4%, that's 14%. Plus 10% times 4%. That's how we calculate inflation. That's how we calculate inflation. So the inflation is going to be added to the interest rate. Also, it's going to be multiplied by the interest rate. And the result will be the whole thing together. Can you tell me what is the number for this? If you add 14% to how much? 54? Tell me the whole thing. 54 what? That's the total? Yes? No. You have a calculator? I don't have a calculator with me. Multiply 10% by 4%. How much is that? 10% by 4%. 40 what? Percent? No? No? I don't think so. Let's do it this way. Let's do it here. Let's see. So 10%, 10 divided by 100 equal to what?
Oh, yeah.
0. What? 0.1, right? 0.1. 4 divided by 100, 0.04, right? Are we good? Add them together. So how much I am getting? 0.1, 4? If I add them together. Okay. Now I want to multiply these together. Multiply them for me. Zero point zero zero four. 1 times 4, that's the 4. Then I will take how many decimal? I have 1, 2, 3. So I have 1, 2, 3. So it will be here. That's the decimal, right? That's the decimal. So it's 0.004 plus this guy. So that will tell me how much? Now it makes sense. But 54 is too much for inflation. I hope it's not. That's going to destroy the economy.
You'd be surprised.
Okay.
We have to expand our observation table.
Yeah. So, any question about inflation? Are we good? Let's talk about depreciation. What is depreciation, first of all? It's a cost recovery method. Think about it. In accounting, we put it as an expense. We put it in the income statement as an expense. It's really a cost recovery method. Your laptops, for example, in accounting language, it worth only, or it lived for 3 years. That's it. Every year we are going to depreciate part of that laptop till the book value, that's how much value on my book as accountant, it would be 0. So if you have a laptop that you paid, for example, you have an Apple, you paid 2,000 for a Mac. If I am your accountant, every year I am going to take the 2,000 divided by 3, okay? And I will get that value, and every year I am going to subtract it from the 2,000. After 3 years, the book value is 0. This laptop worth nothing. But you still can sell it, right? If you are going to sell it in the market, you may get 500, 600 on it. We call that salvage value. Salvage value, okay? So the salvage value is simply the amount of money you are receiving as a gain, as actually an incoming cash flow for selling something. The book value of it is 0. Your car, in accounting, your car is only live for 5 years. After 5 years, the book value of it is 0. The building, live for 10 years, depend on the building type. Equipment, same thing, 7 years to 10 years based on, there is a book for that, there is a manual. Everything I am telling you, there is a manual for it in accounting terminology. So when we talk about depreciation, simply, we are recovering the cost based on the IRS manual that allow us to do that. It's accounting terminology. There is 2 main ways to do depreciation. There is 2 main ways to do depreciation. Straight line, this is the most common way to do it in the exam. You are going to take the cost minus SN. What is SN? That's the salvage value. That's what I just explained. That's the salvage value. So if it costs you, for example, 2,000, you are going to take 2,000 minus what is the salvage value? Let's assume 500. 2,000 minus 500, you will end up with 1,500. You will divide it by N. That's the lifespan. We say the lifespan for a laptop is 3 years. So you end up with 500 every year. So every year, as accountant, I am going to, in my book, subtract 500 from the value of this laptop. After 3 years, it's 0. It's 0. There is another method. The IRS used this one. This is the common one for IRS. It's simply using this table. Modified Accelerated Cost Recovery System, or MACRS. So it depends on the life of the thing we are talking about, the equipment we are talking about. As I said, in the laptop, it's 3 years. This is the 3 years. If it's a car, it's 5 years. If it could be a heavy equipment, 7 years. A building, 10 years. Okay? So based on whatever the categorize or the category you are dealing with, whatever the IRS categorize that equipment, they put it under 3 years for laptops, for cars, 5 years. You will select the column. Then you will go to the year, that's the life expectancy, right? So it will go 3 here, 3 here, 5 here, 5 here, 7 here, 7 here. You will find the value, you will take it, multiply it by the cost. And that's how we do depreciation using MACRS, which is the Modified Accelerated Cost Recovery. So this is the easy one. Most of the equation and most of the work in FE using the straight line, I will solve the problem on straight line in a minute. Any questions so far? Are we good? Yes. Book value. This is the book value. Some of the questions they ask you about the book value. So we find depreciation, then they ask you to find the book value. The book value simply is the initial cost minus the depreciation of every year. Depreciation of every year. Okay? And in a minute we will see how to calculate that. So, for example, I am going to have 1,500 for that laptop at the beginning. Then I will subtract 500 the first year. So at the end of first year, the value is 1,000. Second year, I will subtract 500. The value of the second year is 500. The third year, I will take the last 500, so I end up with book value equal to 0. So simply, I'm taking the initial cost and subtracting the depreciation that I calculated every year. Taxation, all of us know about taxation. Income tax are paid at a specific rate. There is no equation in the FE. You can see the handbook that I gave you a copy of. There is nothing about really calculating the taxation. So I am not really seeing any problem about that, but it's related to depreciation because the depreciation will affect your taxation. This is why we talk about depreciation before taxation. We also have capitalized cost. Capitalized cost, simply, this is a perpetuity. Here, this is a perpetuity. What does that mean? Here we assume that n, the number of years, goes to infinity. Assuming that you are retiring and you have some type of fund that will give you money as long as you live. We assume that n goes for infinity. That's when we use this equation, capitalized cost or perpetuity. We call them perpetuity. Assuming that n will go to infinity. So if I have, for example, an investment, I put P here, and every year they will give me A. They will give me A. They will give me A. That's A. Assuming that n goes to infinity. Assuming that n goes to infinity. In that case, I will use this equation. Assuming that A will continue forever. I will keep receiving that income forever. Forever means as long as I live, because there is nothing really forever. If I die, it will stop. But assuming that it's the length of my life, that's forever. Okay? So you will take A divided by I. That's how you find what is the capitalized cost for that investment. Bond, same thing, present value of payment. The purchaser of the bond received during the life of the bond at some interest rate. Also, general information, the majority of you know it, that bond is secure. You have a specific interest rate, it's almost fixed, and you are receiving money on that all the time. It's obvious that when you are young and you want to invest, you will have your portfolio, for example, more stocks than bonds. Stocks have more volatility or volatile more. It fluctuates up and down more. Bond is not. When you are close to retirement, you will make all your portfolio bond because you don't want to lose anything, because bond is secure. You receive 3% almost every year. Now let's solve a problem using the effective interest rate. So find the approximate annual effective interest rate of money invested at 3% per year and compound quarterly. Compound quarterly. So 3%, that's R. M quarterly. How many quarters we have in 1 year? How many quarters? 4. So this is Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. So M is 4. So we have M equal to 4, R equal to 3%. I will raise it to M here is 4. That's the effective rate. That's the effective rate. That's the effective rate. Again, in the FE, they make it simple for you. If I want to take this more notch, I will tell you the 3% compound, not annual. So I will make both of them change. So I will change M and R. Like you see what they are saying here? They are saying that M, you will receive 1, 2, 3, 4 times. You will receive 3% per year. What if I say that it's not 3% per year, 3% per quarter? That's also changed the calculation, right? But for the FE, we will not go through that, and it doesn't really cover the FE materials. But I want you to keep that in mind. This could be more complicated. What I'm trying to tell you, this could be more complicated. But for the FE, they keep it like that. They keep it simple. They work with M all the time. That's the annual compounding or non-annual compounding converted to annual compounding. Any question, guys? Are we good? Excellent. Now let's talk about depreciation. Depreciation. So consider a company that has purchased a piece of capital equipment for 90,000. The useful life of the asset is estimated to be 12 years with a salvage value of 10. At the end of the estimated life, using straight line depreciation, what is the depreciation after 7 years? Simply, they took the cost, that's the 90, and the salvage value, that's the 10, and they divided by the life, which is 12 years, that's the 12 years. Then they multiplied by 7, because every year, we are going to subtract the same amount for depreciation. So the depreciation after 7 years, that's the amount for depreciation. What is the book value? Can you tell me the book value? Book value.
Just 90,000 minus that first, yeah.
Is that the book value? Right? $46 and some change. That's the book value for this. Are we good so far before we start rate of return? Yes? All is good, guys? Give me a thumbs up if you are good. Excellent. Now, rate of return. What is? We have three of them. We have ROR, that's the rate of return. It's the annual interest rate. We have IRR. IRR is a specific case of ROR. IRR make the cost equal to the income. So IRR, this is IRR. Make the cost equal to income. The interest rate that makes the benefits and cost equal. That's IRR. Internal rate of return, that's the rate that will make me not lose, not gain anything. That's IRR. That's the minimum. IRR is the minimum I can accept. No lose, no loss, right? That's the minimum I can accept. I want to invest with more, definitely I want more than IRR, but this is the baseline that I am going to compare any investment with. MARRR, that's the minimum. MARR, that's the minimum interest rate I can accept. So for example, if the IRR is 10%, that's no gain, that's the break-even point. That's the break-even point. There is no gain, no loss. How much I want above that? Maybe I need 5% above that. Maybe I need 2% above that. That's the MARR. So the MARR will be 15%. That's mean I want 5% on the top of the IRR. In this case, when we talk about return, and if the question asks you about finding the IRR, you need to equivalent two things. You need to equivalent the investment with the return, because that's what we do. We say that IRR is the point where the income and the benefits are equal, right? So I am going to find how much I am going to put initially, the initial outlay. That's the money I put initially. How much money I need to receive, and if I equal these two together and do the calculation, I am supposed to find IRR, right? Because this amount of money need to be discounted to be here. I need to take that part, bring it to present. How I am going to bring it to present? By using the equations we talked about, right? Or using the tables. When I do that, I need to find I, this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for IRR. That's what I'm looking for. So by equating these two, I can use trial and error till I find IRR or I value that will make these two equal. Okay? So here in this part here, first of all, let's talk about the positive ROR. When we have a positive ROR, that means the total benefits more than the cost. So you are gaining money. And when we have a positive ROR, actually, this is the MARR. If you have a zero ROR, that's IRR. What does that mean? That means total benefits equal to total cost. They are equal. The last one, negative ROR, don't do the investment. If you get a negative, don't do it. It's not worth it. You are losing money. The negative telling you that you are losing money. Now, here I have a rate of return that will tell me or giving me a positive present value. If I have a rate of return that will give me a negative present value. IRR is the one in the middle. That's what they are explaining here. If it's negative, ROR, total benefits less than total cost. If it's positive, probably you have what you are looking for, MARR. If you are here, that's the break-even point. That's where the cost equal to the benefits. Questions? Are we good so far? Let's solve a problem. Let's solve a problem. So calculate the internal rate of return, IRR, for an investment with the following cash flow. So you see I have 2,000 investment, that's a negative because I put it down. Then I have Incoming cash flow start with 850, then go down 800, then 750, go down. When we have this gradient, you need to think directly that I have two things. I have A and I have G. I have A and I have G. And I need to equal these two. I am going to equal these two. So, present value or present worth of 2000. We paid it today. Today I put year 0. So that's the worth of the 2000. It's 2000. Now, for the incoming benefits, I am going again to break it down into two pieces. I am going to break it down into this line, that's A, and the rest, that's G. And that's what the equation is telling me. I need to find P, present value, because we are discounting everything to the present value, to here. So I need to find P, A is given. A is what? Is 50 bucks. Or A actually is 800. That's the 750. That's the 750. That's the minimum. That's the 750 here. Minus 50. Or they started with the maximum, 850, and this can be solved in two ways. You can go with minus 50 here and put 850 here, or put 750 and put plus 50 every year. It's the same thing. You will end up with the same answer. So they start with the maximum, 850, and they subtracted 50 every year, minus G, because it's going down 50 every year for 3 years. Now, we don't know I. You see that I is not given here. That's the unknown. I am going to equate these two. To equate these two, I need to do trial and error. I need to go into the tables and say, for example, for I equal to 8%, I need to find this guy. Present worth of benefits. For I equal to 10%, present worth of benefits is this. So I got 2 points. I am going to use interpolation. Find the value I am looking for. Because it is between this is less than 2000, this is more than 2000. The value really is somewhere in between. So I am going to use interpolation. Many people, although it's easy, many people get confused also about interpolation. Simply for interpolation, you can see the following. This guy here, this is I. This guy here is result from table. So the Y is the I you are trying. That's the Y. So this Y is the I. YA is the I. That's the 10%. YB is the I. Everything here and the X's, that's the result from the table. So Y is your interest rate that you are trying with. X's is the result you got from the table. You got from the table these two here, and this is the initial one. That's X, because we have XA, XA, XB, and this is Y. This is what I'm looking for, and for X equal to 2000. You follow? It's coming from the equation of a line. So I'm looking for this point here. Are we good so far? Yes. Now, break-even analysis. Let's talk about break-even points. Break-even point is the point where the income equals expense. I need to think about this, especially when we talk about manufacturing environment. If we are in a manufacturing environment, I am going to produce units until I reach the break-even point. At that point, the cost equals the benefits. If I go beyond that point in production, I'm making money, right? So for example, I need to make 500 pieces of cell phones to break even with my cost. If I go to 600 units, I'm making money. I go to 1,000 units, I'm making more even money, okay? So what is the payback period? Payback period. It's the amount of time you need to recover your initial investment. So for example, I put $1,000 in a project. The project will give me monthly benefits. How long I need to wait to recover that $1,000 and start to generate profits? That's exactly what is the break-even point talk about. So At the top, when we talk income equal expenses, break-even point is the point where your production, for example, pose enough income to cover your cost. Related to that, we have the time. We have the time, that's the payback period. How long I need to wait to receive that coverage to cover my initial payment or the initial investment? That's the payback period, really. Benefits cost analysis. Benefit cost analysis, I am going to compare the benefits with the cost. Here there is an equation I want you to add. Please add it. B minus D divided over C. So B minus D divided over C. When they say this doesn't really explain everything. B is the benefits. D is this benefits. And C is the cost. You can call it initial cost if you want. Initial cost. Okay? We want the benefits cost analysis or cost benefits analysis to be positive, more than one. Not positive. We want it to be more than one. Okay? Because one, we are at the break-even point. We want it to be more than one. If I have benefits cost analysis more than one, the project is good, the investment is good. Go do it. So let's see how we are going to solve a problem. This is one of the problems to do a benefits cost analysis. A manufacturing company has a large machine that produces storage bag. Maintenance on the machine will cost $150,000 per year. That's the cost. Labor for the machine operator will cost $60,000. That's labor per year. Revenue from the sales of the bag will be $250,000. So I am going to apply B minus D divided by C. We know that the sales, that's the benefits really, is $250,000. I have this benefits, that's the internal cost on me. That's $60,000. And I have the machine cost, which is the $150,000. So the $60,000 really is the operation cost. That's the operation cost. I need to subtract it from the $250,000 because really I didn't pay only the $150,000. I paid also more for operation cost. If I do that, that will tell me if I am positive or negative, or I am good or bad. And this is more than one. That means it's a good investment. Do it. It's a good investment. Buy the machine. Buy the machine. Questions? Good. Now, when we talk about risk, we talk about expected values. Expected values. Expected values, simply in probability theory, is the generalization of the weighted average. You will take each element or each event, let's call this event, and you multiply it with the probability of that event. Probability of event. That's expected value. Then you add it all together. I have an event, and I have probability that this event will work, will happen. Okay? I multiply them together. And I add all the results for each event multiplied by the expected results. And that will tell me the total expected value. The total expected value. So EX, expected value of an event X, such as an accident, hurricane, whatever, shop drawing rejection if you are in project management. I is the domain of all possible outcomes. X is the value of the consequences, and P is the probability of the occurrence of the outcome X. Let's see it in action. It's very simple, very easy. I have a problem here for you. The following is the likelihood and impact of a hurricane on construction project schedule. Calculate the expected value of the hurricane. So, the outcome, what is the outcome of the hurricane? Negligible. There is no real, problem caused by the hurricane. Likelihood, 20%. Impact on schedule, that's the delay. That's the delay. No delay. The hurricane is mild. Likelihood, 30%. 5 days delay. The outcome is significant. Likelihood, 25%. Impact is 12. Major hurricane. Likelihood, 20% or 20-day delay. Catastrophic, it goes down. Because always when the impact or when the outcome is huge, the probability of it go down, but the impact go up. You see the impact is 50 days, but what is the probability of that? Only 5%. Now how to find the expected value? I will take each one of these. Then sum them. I am going to take the likelihood, that's the percentage or that's the probability. No delay, that's 0. So it is 0.20 or 20% times 0. 30% times 5, 30% times 5. 25% times 12, 20% times 20, 5% times 50, and add them all together. That will tell me the expected value to delay in this project is 11 days. Very simple. Take the likelihood, that's the probability, multiplied by the impact, or by the event or the outcome. Any question, guys? How we are doing? How do you feel about the session? Do you feel that you are ready? We covered everything in the handouts completely. Like we go above and beyond, I believe. Everything is good. I believe if you study these, if you cover the problems that we did, you are ready to do engineering econ.